Walmart, you should have some sort of cool branding. Like you should call this thing like the Thrasher, or you should call it like the Conqueror, or the, you know, the Wolf Blade, or like something cool, or, you know, like 7.5-inch folding knife. You know, I mean, come on. Hello and welcome to Prestige Worldwide. Up for review today, we have the Ozark Trail D2 folding knife. This has the axis lock, also known as crossbar lock, so they don't have a patent infringement suit from Benchmade, the original. So first off the bat, I notice that this $10 Ozark Trail knife looks strikingly similar to the $150-ish Benchmade bugout, which is cool. The bugout is one of my favorite knives. I have it on my dresser. It just kind of gets used probably more than any other knife that I own. Maybe with the exception of it doesn't quite get used as much as my Spyderco that's on my keychain. I use this one a lot too. And then the Benchmade, if anything, if it's not first, it's second in terms of amount used for, you know, just day-to-day kind of stuff. It's just very flickable, very safe. I like it a lot. And that's one of the reasons when I saw a couple of reviews on this knife, I went to Walmart this morning and, well, first of all, I went on walmart.com, sold out online. So then I did like a search, and there was a store a little bit out of the way, and they actually had a few of them. They had like 4 or 5. I was tempted to buy more than one, but I figure I really only need one, and it's not gonna like blow every other knife out of the water. I mean, maybe it will. I haven't even opened it yet. We're gonna compare it. We're gonna take the calipers, the digital micrometer calipers, and measure the thickness. We are going to measure the weight. We are going to cut some paper and just sort of put this knife up against some other knives. So I've got the Civivi Brazen here, one of my other kind of go-to knives. This one's a flipper, and it has a liner lock. So this one's different. It does have a D2 blade, similar to this Ozark Trail. So let's go ahead and open up the Ozark Trail, see what it looks like. Okay. I do think it's cool that Walmart is making knives like this. It seems that the last several years, Chinese D2 steel has just been extremely widespread. I think it's good. I think it's good that there's competition at lower price levels on some of these knives. That'll keep companies like Benchmade honest. And yeah, they've got S30V. Yeah, it's like a lot lighter. It's got a satin blade finish. Like, you know, the bugout is just, you're not going to beat the bugout, especially at this price point. But for 10 bucks, this might be the best $10 knife on the market. May or may not be. So I did break out another $10 knife. This one is a Gordon knife that I got from Harbor Freight. This was in a review video a while back, and it is the GK24. It's just a sort of basic flipper knife, although it does have a really good finger choil because of this flipper tab. So that's one thing you're not going to get in a crossbar lock, is you're not going to get a big finger choil. So anyways, let's take some measurements on the new knife, on the Ozark Trail D2. And also, Walmart, you should have some sort of cool branding. Like you should call this thing like the Thrasher, or you should call it like the Conqueror, or the, you know, the Wolf Blade, or like something cool, or, you know, like 7.5-inch folding knife. You know, I mean, come on. You know, you can do a little better, Walmart. You know, like this one's the bugout, this one's the Brazen, this one's the Modus, steel wheel Modus. This one's sort of a lesser known knife, but it's like, you know, give it some sort of name. You know, we don't want it to be like the Washington Redskins during COVID when they were the football team, Washington football team. We don't need a football team knife. We need a, you know, We need a knife that has a cool name, you know, some sort of, you know, the Jackal or something, you know? So anyways, Walmart, do a little bit better on your marketing. Anywho, so let's get right down to it, to the specs here. And it is only 2.3 millimeters thick. So when compared to the bugout, okay, well, the bugout is the same thickness. These have the same thickness, 2.2 millimeters on each one of these. For some reason, I thought it was going to be thinner. Maybe it's because these steel liners make the handle a little wider, so in comparison, it seems as if the blade steel is a little thinner, but that's really just an optical illusion. Let's put this thing on the scale and see what it comes out to. 2.81 ounces, which is essentially a full ounce above the bug, well, almost an ounce above the bugout. So the bugout is essentially, you know, 33% lighter than the 7.5 inch folding knife made with D2. You know, I'm just going to call it the Jackal. So the Jackal, it has steel. It has thick steel liners. Now you can tell they are skeletonized. I don't know if you can see in the camera. Let's try to zoom in here. It is skeletonized, which means they've got holes drilled through on both sides. And the crossbar lock seems to be holding it with very little back and forth blade play and very little side to side blade play. I did watch another video where some guy had he bought like 4 of them, and I think most of them had a lot of blade play. I think there's blade flex. It's not really blade play. It's not like it's loose or anything. I guess if you put enough torque on it, it'll move. Let's compare that to the Benchmade. Okay, yeah. Benchmade definitely has it beat on the blade play. So if you're into high-end knives, which, you know, I do have some high-end knives, then, you know, the blade play. Let's see how the $10 Gordon compares. So the $10 Gordon has really no blade play. Probably the $10 Gordon probably has less blade play than the $150 Benchmade. Let's see how the Civivi Brazen, that probably has more. So ranking them in order of blade play, least to most. The steel will, that's probably the strongest. I really like this knife. It's got a sheep foot blade, high hollow grind, D2 blade, extremely sharp, extremely lightweight. I'll do a review on the steel will eventually. I think I actually have like 3 of them. I think they're awesome. I got them in bug out bags and hiking bags. 3.38 ounces. So, you know, it's got a little weight to it, but you get a thicker blade, 2.9 millimeters instead of your 2.2 on your Ozark Trail. So one thing I noticed is when you're closing it, it wants to bounce back open. Like the detent it doesn't quite, like when it's getting into here, it doesn't quite, you would have to, yeah, locking open or closed, it wants to kind of bounce open or bounce closed, which kind of sucks. The Benchmade bug out, let's see. So I normally open it with a thumb stud, but let's close it. So it might bounce a little, but then it closes. It actually closes. Like every time. I don't have to try to finicky with it. I don't have to try to be finicky with it. It just closes every time. This one, I mean, it just bounces all over the place. There's just too much rebound on that. Let's see how well it can cut paper. So I've got a safety manual for a Milwaukee charger. You know, if I get hurt using a Milwaukee charger, then I might as well just walk around with a helmet on or something, like down the street on the sidewalk, and just really try to be careful. Okay. All right. Wow. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with the sharpness. That is extremely sharp. Extremely sharp out of the box. I did not expect that. Okay, good job. Good job on that. I can sharpen knives. I do sharpen knives, like especially knives I use a lot. I use just sort of I think it's like a Smith's or one of those sharpeners that you hold in your hand and you drag it across. I do have, I've used different knife sharpeners in the past. I've gotten really into it in the past, but now I'm like, I just want a utilitarian blade on my knives. I don't need to trim little confetti. Now, I suppose this one could be a little sharper though. It's got a good user blade on it. Let's try the Steel Will Modus. Oh yeah, this is a factory edge. I haven't really used this one much. That's just nice. Back to the Ozark. Let's get a fresh page here. Oh yeah. It's like ASMR or something, right? It's just very satisfying. Okay, yeah. All right. Yeah. This thing is pretty good. This thing is really pretty good for $10. It does have a much better blade steel than the Gordon. This one has a 3CR13 MOV or some, nonsense. So this one has a softer steel that is more stainless, more corrosion resistant. But this one has a DLC coating. So it really doesn't need to be, rust resistant, rust proof. I mean, you might get a little patina around the blade there. But this thing's pretty well protective. I mean, yeah, if you leave it out in the rain, if you're like seriously out in the middle of the wilderness, I would rather have a stainless knife. But as a backup, this would be an excellent backup. And since it's sharp right out of the box, and D2 has excellent edge retention, so it's going to keep that edge for a long time. You'll be able to get a lot of use out of it before it even really starts to dull. I do like the orange blade. It's kind of like a high visibility deal where, if you're camping or, using it out in the wilderness and you drop it in the leaves or something, or you drop it, wherever, if it's in your backpack, you'll be able to find it easier because it's high visibility. Let's see how the detent is. Yeah, it's pretty good detent. Like, it's not going to open up in your pocket, which is something I focus on knives. Like, if I'm going to have a knife in my backpack, in my pocket, in a pocket of a backpack, and I'm like reaching in there, I don't want one of these blades to catch on something and open up. So this Ozark Trail has good closed detent. You can see how the crossbar lock has, same spring mechanism that keeps the Benchmade closed. So that little spring bar, which I think is on both sides, it's a really great design, this crossbar lock. Very strong. And instead of a liner lock or a frame lock, where the frame lock, you compromise one of the handles. The handle loses its strength and rigidity because it's notched out for a frame lock. And then if it's a liner lock, then a lot of times you're adding thickness. Now, arguably the Ozark Trail does have steel liners that are skeletonized, or at least they have holes drilled in them. So yeah, it's a little thicker than the Benchmade. Let's go ahead and test the thickness. Let's see what we got here. 13.5 millimeters, so it's about a ½ inch, and 9.9. So yeah, so this thing weighs about a third more, and it's also 1/3 thicker than the Benchmade. So, you know, it is what it is. They're almost the exact same height. And let's check out the blade lengths, see what we're working with here. 3 it's pretty much 3 1/6 and an eighth for the actual cutting edge. It's probably about 3 1/8, 3 3/16. Right, I'm right here at the edge. Maybe 3 1/8, right on 3 1/8. Of course, on a radius, you might gain a little cutting edge there. And then this one is essentially 3 1/8, 3 1/16. It is essentially the same blade length as the Benchmade. So that's kind of cool. Same blade length. Yeah, I for $10, I'm glad I bought it. I don't think it's better than like the steel wheel Modus. This was a $30 knife. I like it better. I like this one considerably better, I guess, to some degree, than the Ozark Trail. But yeah, this one was still 3 times more than this one, so you could make an argument. Now here's a really crappy knife. This one is a Gerber pear frame. This one's probably a $7 knife, and it just sucks. Like it just sucks. I'm probably gonna shoot it with the ram set because it sucks so much. It came with, I bought it, see, like it does that. I bought it a couple of years ago at Sportsman's Warehouse, and it came as a combo. It was this with the suspension NXT, you know, multi-tool. And it was like $25. You get the paraframe knife, and then you get the suspension NXT. And I didn't want this thing. I still don't want it. It exists, and it may not exist too much longer if I shoot it with the ram set. So, but this Ozark Trail, I don't think it's gonna get ram setted. No, I like it. Even though it was $10, I do like it, and it's very sharp, and I could throw it in a backpack. I could throw it in a drawer. I could throw it in a cup holder in my truck, and it is a knife, and it has a purpose. It's kind of cool looking. We're coming into the fall. Halloween's around the corner. A couple months away from Halloween. It's pretty cool. And, there's worse colors you can make it. The black on orange, not bad. You got a deep carry pocket clip. It is non-reversible. You've got your lanyard hole. You've got some maybe a T6 screws there holding it together. It's got an open back construction, black spacers, and yeah, really not bad. Really not bad. Marketing, it could be better on the marketing. Could have a name instead of the Ozark Trail D2 folding knife with the crossbar lock, which takes 5 minutes to say. But I like it, and I'm glad I bought it. Thanks for watching this review. Bye-bye.